And especially for professionally successful women, there is that fear that their professional success came at the expense of their marriage, of their personal life.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today. And today's conversation is going to be on the corporate side of divorce in the workplace. Today's guest is Allison Jeffereys. She's a divorce coach, a motivational speaker, and author of the best-selling book, A Woman's Guide to Surviving Divorce. Allison earned a degree in psychology from the College of William and Mary before embarking on a 30-year corporate career. During her career, she worked for multiple Fortune 100 companies and at one point earned her Series 7 and taught financial advisors how to work with women and their money. Allison retired from the corporate world 5 years ago to reinvent herself and her career into something that would be more personally fulfilling. Giving up the constraints of her personal life allowed her to spend some time with her aging mother before she passed and build her dream home with the love of her life and publish her book in 2019. As a divorce coach, Allison helps professionally successful women face their grief, fear, and loss to discover what happiness looks like for them and to live their lives on their own terms. So thank you so much for being with us here today, Allison. I cannot wait to dive into this topic. Thank you so much for being here. I wanted to talk to you about EAP, Employees Assistance Programs. They offer them, but are these benefits enough to fill that gap for the employees going through divorce?
EAP is a great program on paper. Having worked in the corporate world all those years, having managed teams and all of that, EAP is kind of that word that in HR, we wish it had more teeth. We wish it had more benefit for our employees. But the reality is there is that fear out there that consulting with EAP puts a check mark in your file or gives you that negative mark on your career. And within the EAP programs, they offer programs, services, coaches, but they're financially based or they're emotionally based when people are struggling and having true psychological issues. Divorce, while it has a huge financial component, is more about the law as it applies to divorce, rather than, do I have enough money? Have I invested it? Is my 401k well funded? So what EAP offers is the tip of the iceberg, maybe to give them a little bit of support and sustenance at a very hard time. But it's a shorter duration and it's a short-lived support, and it falls way short of what people going through divorce, especially high-valued employees, get and need to be continually productive on their jobs and to continue to grow their careers and support their organization.
Well, speaking of productivity, studies show that employees' productivity decreases by about 40% when they get divorced, and it continues over the next 5 years. Does this impact high-performing individuals in the same way as your average performers?
Yes and no, in the fact that everyone is impacted. And unfortunately, especially with your high performance employees, one of the tips that you will see is their performance has fallen off before you find out they're even having the divorce. So while they can measure what's happened to their performance post-divorce, who knows how bad it's been at home prior to divorce and how long they've been sucking it up and riding it out for fear of the impact on the other areas of their life. So for your high earning employees, it is especially detrimental, because how do you become successful? It comes with a sense of confidence. It comes with a sense of knowing you know what you're doing and that you can do a good job and that you're all there and you're ready for that meeting. You're ready for that trip. You're ready to make that proposal. And when you're going through a divorce or you're dealing with the aftermath of that divorce, your ego, your confidence, your self-worth, it's in the gutter. And so those high performing employees you will find will have a bigger drop because of that loss of self-confidence, because they begin to question themselves in all aspects of their lives.
That is so true. And but I wanted to ask you, why does the reduction in productivity continue for so long after the divorce?
It continues because we look at divorce as that piece of paper. When the judge says you're divorced, they grant you that piece of paper and that divorce should be over and the impact should be gone. But the reality is that piece of paper is no more the divorce than the marriage certificate is the beginning of marriage. It's about the expectations. It's about the lifestyle. It's about the life you're choosing to create. And when you get divorced, you've lost everything that you've had, and now you're forced to rebuild. And for most people, that emotional whammy, along with the fact that you have made that mistake, either they jump back into that dating pool and make that mistake again over and over, which impacts their performance because they're in the serial relationships, or they give up entirely and find themselves worthless. It's about helping your employees get through that divorce with no regrets. Divorce is never a good thing. It's never a happy time. But to have regrets that hound you, the what ifs, the what if I could have, should have, would have's that continue to plague them and hound them, that's not healthy. It's about helping them get back to that healthy place where they know if they made mistakes, they know if they didn't, they own what they did, they let go of the rest, and they're able to rebuild their lives. And that takes time. You know, the average divorce in today's world may go on for a year or 2 years with the court systems that we're dealing with.
Right.
That alone.
Yeah, we just saw the Arnold Schwarzenegger's divorce took 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
and so the divorce itself goes on longer, but it is the healing that needs to occur. And the process is there. And I was lucky enough to find it in the aftermath of my second divorce. That was when I worked for the financial education company, and I had that pleasure of traveling, and you can't work on a computer on an airplane. So I had my iPad. And all these women, my information came from all these women, hundreds and hundreds of women sharing their stories and successes and failures. By being able to follow that, I was able to find the path. But it's not an easy path to find. And it's certainly not one that anyone's left breadcrumbs for you to follow. So it's about getting someone to help you through and keep you going. We don't go through cancer treatment without advocates and resources to make sure we understand everything, to make sure we know what our medications are doing, to make sure we're taking our medications, to make sure we're following up with our doctors. Divorce is like a cancer, and it continues to grow unless you fight it head on with all the resources that are out there.
Oh, that's perfect. Well, let me ask you, getting divorced can have significant financial impact for people, particularly in the lower and middle income jobs. And our EAP program that we offer, it offers some financial help towards that. Will this be enough to help these employees navigate the financial aspects of divorce?
No, because divorce math is very different than anything you've ever seen. It's kind of like doing regular math and then trying to learn Common Core math. The problem may be straightforward, but the answer is absolutely convoluted. In divorce, 100 divided by 50% does not, 2 divided by 50% or half should be 50, but it's not. You've got to take out attorney's fees. You've got to take out other ancillary fees. You've got to take out duplicate housing expenses and duplicate bills. And the fact that kids now need 2 sets of clothes. And oh, by the way, there's money that's been lost or hidden, or where did it go? That 50% or 50 may only be 30, depending on the magnitude of the issues that go on. So no, it's a lot bigger than people think it is. And even for people with good incomes, it becomes difficult.
Yeah, I hear on that. I like that convoluted math because it really is. People think one way and it's totally a different way. But do our highly compensated employees experience the same level of financial stress as the other employees when they're getting a divorce?
No, they actually have more. It's the more you have, the more you have to lose kind of syndrome. And for a woman having been in the highly compensated bracket, when I got divorced, there was this comment that if I heard one more time, I thought I would throttle someone. Oh, but you make a lot of money, you'll be fine.
Mm.
And yet I had been the sole breadwinner in my household for 7 years. And yet I was worried about losing it all.
Mm.
And I'm not uncommon.
I
It's
agree with
not about the value of the money. It's about, for women, the security that that money brings. And to men, it's the pride and the pride of earning it, the pride of accumulating it, the pride of building it, the pride of being able to protect and provide. And the thought of it going away is equally as troubling. And again, the more you have, the more you have to lose.
Amen. And so, you talked about men and women. Does divorce impact differently between our male and female employees?
Yes and no. It's all yes and no, because people are all people and everybody's individual. The reality is when a woman is faced with divorce, her whole world is falling apart. And especially for professionally successful women, there is that fear that their professional success came at the expense of their marriage, of their personal life. And so it becomes more of a women share more, women emote more. It becomes more office talk, which creates more problems because she has nowhere else to go. This is where she sits for 8 to 10 hours a day. These are the people she spends her time with, and now there's no one at home to bounce things off of. So then it becomes an issue in the workplace, not only her productivity, but the people around her that get involved in it. Okay. For men, it's almost typically the exact opposite. They pull inwards. They don't want to share these things at work. This is a failure they don't want to divulge. This is a battle they don't want to talk about until it gets to the boiling point, and then they blow over and something comes out that they'll regret saying later.
Right.
And then for men, it's unfortunately in the corporate world, and what I've seen in the men I've worked with and my experience is that when they're ready for a fresh start, sometimes the easiest way to get that fresh start is to change jobs. And so you don't even see it coming because you don't even know they got divorced. And then all of a sudden this person is left. And when you ask them why, they say, well, I'm ready for a new change. I've got divorced. Blah, blah, blah. They want to go somewhere where it's not part of the conversation. Mm-hmm. So it's about not demystifying, but destigmatizing divorce.
And
it's about letting.
Yeah, that's something that we need to talk about in that whole corporate culture of how divorce
Mm-hmm.
is handled within
Mm-hmm.
a business. So as we wrap this up, Allison, I really would love for you, if you could come up with some tips, techniques, and ideas that HR managers, supervisors, division heads can walk away with and implement into their team when they get to the office tomorrow. What would that be? What would those tips be from you?
Well, my number one tip is if you don't already have a process, if you don't already have materials available, if you don't already know exactly what you're going to do when you find out that an employee is having issues going through divorce, you're already behind the curve. Okay. When they come to you and say, I'm going through a divorce, and you say, let me see what I can find for you, it says to them, you're the first person that's ever brought this to HR. There's something wrong with you. And no one ever wants to be that person. So it's about being proactive rather than reactive. It's about having resources available. Of course, I'll recommend my book for your women. There are many books out there written for men, and there are many books just written for anyone going through a divorce that are very good. And at the same time, it's about having the corporate culture that's inclusive, about a corporate culture that knows people have real lives, and letting them know that the company has benefits ready for them or resources ready for them beyond calling EAP, which again, that's that negative connotation. I'm broken, I need help, and I just sent up the red flag. Okay. Something that tells them we understand. It happens. It happens to the best of us. Given the statistics, it happens to 50% of us.
It does.
We are ready. We are here to support you. And the companies that develop things like mentorship programs within their organization to help employees that have been through it, guide those. Not to be their coach, not to be their lawyer, not to give them advice, but to give them that professional, here's what you do in the office, here's how you handle this. You're going to be okay. My career didn't suffer, yours won't suffer either. to be a professional mentor for them as they're going through that process. That is one of the best inclusive ways that you can do it, along with a good array of resources. And the resources need to cover everything from emotional, financial, legal, parenting, and that's the tip of the iceberg. Those are, must-haves.
Absolutely.
And then there's everything else.
Yeah, that's why, we know that it really truly takes a village to get a couple through this process. And so I'm so glad that you mentioned those things, because that is something that we here at Divorce Right believe in also, which is why we are developing mentorship programs for corporations and trying to help develop that corporate culture of acceptance and support and guidance. So thank you, Allison. That was awesome today. And if you all would like some more information on how you can get in touch with Allison, why don't you give them your website and some information on how they can reach out to you?
My website is www.isurvived.info. And I am on Facebook and LinkedIn. Just got to spell the last name right. It's kind of weird. Jeffereys. And I live on LinkedIn and Facebook. So be happy to connect and answer any questions I can for anyone.
Well, thank you, Allison, for doing this with us today. And I hope that the HR managers, supervisors, and directors out there found this advice that you got today something that you can implement in your corporation and give back to your employees that are so valuable. So Allison, thank you so much. We're so happy to have you as one of our coaches here at Divorce Right. So we look forward to hearing more from you. And for everybody else out there, thank you so much for being a part of our broadcast today. And we will see you next time on more tips, techniques, and ideas that you can bring back to your employees at your organization that are going through divorce. So thank you all for now, and we appreciate your support. Bye-bye.